In today's video, I'm going to go over some of the pros and cons of living in Jupiter Farms, Florida, and I'm also going to include some useful information for new residents who are looking to move to this area in the near future. And without further ado, let's get started on today's video. One of the biggest pros to living in Jupiter Farms, Florida, it's a very safe place to live and raise your family. You can do your own research on Google and find out it is rated very high with only very little petty crimes here and there. But again, it's one of the safest areas to live in the United States. So that's definitely something you should consider about moving to the Jupiter Farms area. Another great pro to living in Jupiter Farms, Florida is if you're like me and you don't like rules, especially homeowner association rules, Jupiter Farms would be perfect for you. There are no HOA requirements, meaning there are no rules. Now, unless the county has rules in place that limit you or prohibit you from doing something with your property, Jupiter Farms would be a perfect place for you to call home. If you want to have your own RV on the property, if you want to have a couple boats on the property, if you want to raise some chickens and so on, Jupiter Farms would be a great area for you to consider. One of the cons to living here in Jupiter Farms, Florida, it does consist of a lot of dirt roads, but don't fret it. There are a lot of homes that are located on paved roads, but just keep in mind that you will pay more money to buy a house that's on a paved road versus a dirt road. The dirt roads are not horrible, but your car will get dirtier quicker because of the dirt roads. Also, when it rains, the good thing, one of the downfalls to living on a dirt road is that your car will never stay clean. So consider that when you're looking to move to an area like Jupiter Farms. If you're the type of person that your car has to be spotless every day, don't buy a house on a dirt road. That'd be the worst thing you can do. I hope you're enjoying this video so far about the Jupiter Farms area. If you have any questions about buying or selling real estate in Jupiter Farms, my name is David Rogers. I am a licensed real estate broker out of Jupiter, Florida, and I would love to help you regardless if you're buying or selling in the area. All my contact information, like I said earlier, will be in the description below and at the end of the video. Now let's get back to the video. One thing you'll notice when visiting or moving to Jupiter Farms, you'll see lots of signs like this behind me. This is a big time equestrian area. Lots of residents have horses. You're allowed to have horses on your property. There's lots of trails and horseback trails throughout Jupiter Farms and also nearby Riverbend Park. So that's something you'll definitely notice when living here, moving here. And it's one of the pros to this area because there is no homeowner association, which a lot of people like, and all the lots here are over 1 acre in size. One con that most people probably have the hardest time dealing with living here in Jupiter Farms, Florida, is that once again, you are on well water. You're using well water for your water supply. You will be required to get a water filtration system for the entire house, a water softener, which a lot of these systems can range in the thousands of dollars if you have to hire somebody to install a good system. So again, one of the cons to living in Jupiter Farms in an unincorporated area that doesn't have a city water supply will be the fact that you'll have to maintain and clean and have the equipment service on a regular basis to make sure your water quality is clean and it doesn't have that slimy hard water feel to it that you get living in this area. Another one of the cons of living in Jupiter Farms that you should consider when moving to the area is because since you're on well water out here, if you lose power during a storm, you're not going to have a way to supply water to the inside of your house. So if you are going to move to this area, make sure you have a backup generator to run the entire house so that you can still use your well pump to pump water into your house. That's definitely one of the cons of living in more of a rural country setting. And I wouldn't say Jupiter Farms is a country setting, but because you are on well water, you need power to run the pumps that supply water to the inside of your house. Now, we just talked about one of the cons about not having city water or being on a well system here in Jupiter Farms. There's also a pro to the scenario. Just keep in mind, you don't have to pay a monthly water bill to the city like you would anywhere else. What I would recommend, of course, in that scenario is if you're used to paying $60 to $100 per month for your water bill, put that money away for future repairs and maintenance on the water system at the house. So that way it's not as big of a shock when you have to pay $200, $300, $400 or $1,000 repair down the road. But that is a pro by not having city water, because your monthly expenses will be less on average than if you did have to pay it. One thing that I like about Jupiter Farms is that it is mostly occupied by homeowners and not renters. There's not a very strong rental market here, and what I mean by that is that the percentage of renters versus owner is so low that I believe it's under 5% renters versus 95% homeowners in the Jupiter Farms market. Here's an interesting fact that I think you'll enjoy. This property directly behind me, which is known today as Reynolds Ranch, which is a newer luxury single-family community here in Jupiter Farms, Florida, right off of Jupiter Farms Road, was once rumored to be a hideout for one of the most famous mobsters, which was Al Capone, dating back to the 1920s, which later on was purchased by a very famous actor, Burt Reynolds himself, who then at some point sold the property behind us, which was 153 acres, which was turned into this luxury single-family home community where all the homes in here currently are well over $1 million, but they're all situated on 1 acre. You're allowed to have horses on the property. They have their own horse riding area and miles of horse trails throughout the area. Hope you enjoyed those facts. Another one of my favorite pros to living in this area of Palm Beach County, Florida, people are nice. When you go to the grocery stores, the gas stations, anywhere in this area, people are nice to you. They're not a bunch of a-holes like you get in some of these other areas of Florida or throughout the United States. So if you're looking for an area where people are nice to you, consider northern Palm Beach County. This is definitely a nice area. One of the other pros to living in Jupiter Farms, Florida, or any of the other nearby areas in Palm Beach County, Florida, is that this area has lots of parks. Today we're in Riverbend Park, which is located just west of the Florida Turnpike in I-95 on Indiantown Road. This park offers lots of amenities for people to enjoy when they're out here. When you come into the main entrance, you can rent kayaks or canoes. They also have bicycles that you can rent. Now for the bicycle trails, there's about 10 miles of bicycle trails throughout Riverbend Park. If you're a horse lover and you have your own horse, there's about 7 miles of equestrian trails. And for kayaking and canoeing, there's about 5 miles of waterway in the park. And it's a pretty cool tour if you can do it. One of the cons to living in Jupiter Farms, Florida, has to do with gas prices. And the reason I bring this up, because there's only one gas station in Jupiter Farms, and to be honest with you, it's about 20 cents a gallon more than if you were to drive a little bit farther east into Jupiter, Florida itself. So again, if you need gas and you're in a bind, you're gonna pay more to be in Jupiter Farms, Florida when it comes to gas prices. One of the pros to living in Jupiter Farms, Florida, is, we talked about it earlier, it's a very safe area to live in, but one of the biggest things that I really like personally, that it's very quiet, especially at night. You don't hear all the road noise from the highways, unless you got some a-hole running up and down the street with the loud muscle car. That's about the only noise you'll hear at night when living in Jupiter Farms. So one of the biggest pros here is honestly how peaceful it is, the tranquility of the area in general. One of the other cons or negatives currently here in Jupiter Farms, Florida, is that home prices, just like the rest of the United States, has jumped up in value so much in the last 12 months. Currently, right now, the median home price in Jupiter Farms, Florida is just over $600,000. Whereas about a year and a half ago, you could find a nice house for $450,000, $475,000 and a little bit lower. But in reality, all the home prices have jumped up dramatically. So I wouldn't really call this a con, but it is getting to be harder for locals and local residents who grew up in the area to afford a home in Jupiter Farms and the surrounding areas. Now, while there's no perfect place for everybody to call home, Jupiter Farms, in my opinion, is going to be one of the closest places to call perfect, except for a few things. Keep in mind, you're on an acre-plus lot, so there's going to be more yard work. You're going to have higher expenses when it comes to landscaping, tree trimming, cleanup and removal of dead branches, and so on. So take that in consideration. If you're looking to move to Jupiter Farms, you will have more expenses to maintain the exterior of the home. And at the end of this, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I answered some other questions that maybe were not thought of previously. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button. Also, subscribe to my channel, leave comments, and hit the bell notification to get notified when new videos of mine come out in the future. And I look forward to seeing you next time.